was large and in charge. Are you kidding me? Hold on. Let me get I was so impressed. He lost 100 pounds. She lost 70 pounds. That is absolutely bonkers. Super impressive. Not that one. This one. There you go. There he is. Big old Scotty. Look at that belly. Look at the belly. I mean, Laurie still looks incredible. You can't even tell that she was 70 pounds heavier. But look at Scott. Holy cow. If he got on the race looking like that, there is no way anybody would have ever thought that they were a threat in any way, shape, or form. So that is super impressive to lose 100 pounds and 70 pounds while still having a job and raising 8 kids. So major props.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely incredible. So we learned a little bit more about Scott and Laurie. We learned a little bit more about Anna. Funny thing that we learned is that Scott and Laurie didn't think that other teams saw them as a threat and didn't think that they would do anything to slow them down or hurt them.
If you're performing like they are, you know you're a threat.
Okay, maybe at the starting line when you look at them, they're like, oh, we're going to dust them. Just like how I kind of said that they weren't going to be that great of a team just by first appearances. But after leg 1 and then leg 2 and then leg 3 and then leg 4, you're like, wait a second here. Slow down, bro. You're a threat. You're a bigger threat than anybody on the race besides Anna and Jonathan, really. I mean, let's see who popped in here. Who's that? Who's B?
Ray.
Oh, all right. Let me. I got to readjust things now. See, you screwed up everybody's camera.
Screwed it all up.
If anybody else is joining in, do it now, so I don't got to do this on the screen. All right, you guys talk amongst yourselves. Talk about the race or the beginning of the race here, right before or if you want to talk about. Yeah, let me run through this, and then you guys could talk about the U-turn vote. So, did Nick really have rice in his eye, or did Mike punch him in his face in the in the downtime and say, "Get your shit together, bro. We're getting yoked here by these guys."
That plays a huge factor when you're down and out and you're not 100%.
Yeah, I mean, when
That's
you're fighting an injury. All right, you guys talk amongst yourself. That would really help me so I can align all of you people here.
Have you guys ever applied to the race?
I've applied 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 4 for me now.
What are your biggest strengths that you would bring on the race?
My biggest problem is typically narrowing it down for the audition because I'm retired Navy flyer. I was in the circus for 4 years. I sing in choruses. I've applied with my daughter, father-daughter thing. There's always a spot for us there. And this last time, because, she came out as bi, so we could be the, queer father-daughter.
There you go. Yeah.
Trying to find your niche, right? Like what makes us different than everybody else, or what are they looking for? Which box can I tick off? Just put me on the damn show. Yeah, it's tough like that. I can totally understand that. All right. Looks like we got everybody in here. All right. We all know Ray. Ray joined us on another podcast, so I don't have to introduce Mr. Ray Fletcher, but hey, welcome to the chat. And I think I saw Kathy Farrell. Kathy Farrell was I don't know if you've seen her in chat, but she, we went to elementary school together, if that's the same Kathy Farrell. So, hey, elementary school Kathy, I haven't spoken to you in 30-something years. Hey. And if you guys can read the chat at some point to see if there's any good points that want to pop up, that would be really helpful as well. All right, so let's get to this U-turn vote because this is what everybody's talking about. First off, Scott and Laurie are mad at Jonathan and Anna for using the driver's seat, but then they hug it out right before they're like, it's okay. And they hug it out. Everything's all good. And then we get to the U-turn vote. Jonathan and Anna say Guy teams need to go. They say out loud, Jack and Carson are the biggest threat, but yet and still they U-turn Nick and Mike, which is the worst use of a U-turn maybe in the history of the Amazing Race. My mic seems lower than others. Okay, I can work on that. Right.
I was looking at the averages, like the finish averages prior to the vote and then after this episode. But prior to the vote,
Yeah.
Nick and Mike had a 7.75 average, which was tied with Hahn and Holden for the lowest.
Yeah, I don't understand why anybody would look at Nick and Mike and think the threats. Like, I get that they're in great shape, but Mark and Brett are in 10 times better shape. Like, if you're going to go by muscles alone, Mark and Brett are the muscle team. They're jacked, like yoked, no body fat, just pure muscle. They both have an incredible relationship. They're great at challenges. Like, if you were going to go straight on a guy team based on muscle, it's Brett and Mark. If you're going to go on a guy team based on statistics, it's Jack and Carson. Like, they said they wanted to get a male team out, but they voted for the worst male team that's on the season. Like, I mean, even Pops and Jeff have been doing better than Nick and Mike.
I have a theory, just because the last time they did the live W-turn vote, it was truly live. They didn't give them a bunch of cards to lock in advance.
Right.
And so if you recall, there were a ton of throwaway votes because they were doing it live. And so unless you were going for Colin and Christie, everybody else was just, let's make sure everybody has one. And they gave all the power to Chris and Brett at the end, because Chris and Brett could just make the bonehead call that they made. But everybody else had like one vote except for, Tyler and Corey. But I think that was what they were thinking they were going to do. They knew that they were a target. They would just spread the wealth and hope that somebody, worse than them would be behind them.
Yeah. Well, I
feel like the sorry, Justin.
No.
I feel like the discussion that they had before they went into the monkey sanctuary, like the way that Scott and Lori kind of put a little bit more pressure and kind of made it a little more personal with Jonathan and Anna. I kind of felt like that had an impact on Jonathan and Anna and made them feel like sort of almost kind of apologetic, where they didn't want to, look like the bad guy anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe they were trying to go with a vote that didn't look like it was hurtful at all, and maybe that was.
And everybody watching Nat live and everybody that's listening on the podcast later, Scott and Lori have their own podcast where they explain all of this, like any of the questions that you have about the reasons that they did things. He's talking about it in chat right now about how Pops and Jeff were right across from people and they didn't want to show their votes and things like that. So make sure you go check it out. I have a lot of personal stuff going on, so I haven't had a lot of time. And plus, I'm the only host, so I have to do all of the prep work. So I haven't had the time to go check out. Jonathan and Anna have their own podcast as well, which they double down on a lot of the things that they've done on the show. So definitely go check out their podcast. Go check out Scott and Lori's podcast. Brett and Mark do a live Instagram because they made the error that people who don't listen to the Races Recap, they went and asked permission and to do a podcast. And whenever you ask permission to do a podcast, CBS says no. So I'm sure Jonathan and Anna, Scott and Lori didn't ask. They just did it. And guess what? They're not going to get in trouble. Nobody ever gets in trouble. That's one of the reasons why nobody's coming on the show this season. It's because they ask. When you go ask, CBS says no, because they just all want to do everything in one day. So the producer has to be around. So a producer can sit there for one day, go through 1,000 podcasts. They all get the same questions, same answers. It's boring. That's why I don't do that. I'll never be a part of that because it's boring. It's the same teams giving the same answers, the same weeks. So if you watch one podcast, why do you watch the others? Because you're going to get the same exact thing. Let's go back because I've missed a couple dollars. Ray Fletcher's in chat, dropping the bombs already, starting it off. Appreciate you, Ray. Thank you so much. You are amazing, my friend. And Arnold DeLeon, another one. The vote dynamic would have been completely different if Jonathan and Anna still had the Express Pass. True. But I still think they would have gotten one of them so they would burn the Express Pass. So I don't know how much different. They have not gotten U-turned because Express Pass would have negated it. What do you guys think? Do you think people wouldn't have U-turned them because the Express Pass would have negated it? Or do you think people would have U-turned them just so they were forced to use that express pass this leg rather than next leg.
You got to burn it. You got to burn
Yeah,
it.
you got to get it off the table. Yeah.
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 Well, especially I think they knew that they had to use this.
Well, this is
this
leg
leg
5,
anyway.
yeah, by the end of leg 5. And
Yeah.
and you always want to hold it until the last possible second unless you're going to get eliminated. Like,
Yeah.
You don't want to use it while you're in first to get first. I mean, the only times to use it are to get first and to avoid being last. But if you're already in first, you don't use it. That's just dumb. And if you're ever think you're going to be last, then that's the best time to use it. And if it's the last leg, then you try to use it to get first on that leg. So please, Racers Recap people, just write down these notes and just listen to me. Listen to me. I know I made 2 stupid mistakes on my season. That was adrenaline and attitude, and somebody trying to rip me off. Cab, I got ripped off by Cab. We lost. No, whatever. Nobody cares about my season. But anyway.
Well, I will ask you, Justin, just because it falls into this category here. The one thing that you clearly didn't play your season was a social game.
There's no such thing as a social game. Like they have to.
Well, being called out in this vote, being called out, Scott and Lori took offense to it. I don't see it as being a negative to say that you're playing the game.
Correct.
You're saying that you're the weakest team while you're still crushing it.
Yeah, like she underplayed. Like I think Lori underplayed it. Like, how can you say you're the slowest team when Melinda is clearly the slowest person on the entire race, and they've never finished above 4th, and you guys have won a leg, came in second twice, and like 3rd. Like you're one of the dominating teams. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you feel like at home. On the race, you're doing really well, and you are one of the biggest threats. There are 3 teams that should have been U-turned. It's Jack and Carson, Scott and Lori, Jonathan and Anna. Those are the only 3 teams that should get votes. Those are the only 3 teams that were threats. And I don't know why Scott and Lori didn't think they were threats. And if you want to know, they give you a full breakdown on their podcast. So please go and search their podcast on YouTube. And if you're in chat, Scott, just drop your link to the podcast. My season, the way I've always raced, if I run my race, I don't care what any of the teams do because they can't stop me from winning. The only team that could stop Justin and Diana from winning is Justin and Diana. And we proved that on our season. Nobody beat us. Nobody beat us on any leg. We lost those legs by doing something or something happening. Like, nobody ever beat us on a leg. We lost those legs. That's how I look at that. And I could show you one little thing on every single leg that we lost was because of something that we did or didn't do. The only one is a minor was the express pass when James Earl passed us. But we still could have won that if we could walk with things on our head. But we couldn't walk with things on our head. So my egghead didn't allow us. And we still could, even with the express pass, still could have won that leg. But so social game was, for me, it was like, you have to beat me to the U-turn board, which nobody's going to beat me to a U-turn board. That's the confidence that we have. Like, you can't beat us to the U-turn board. Dynamic changes. Well,
that's why they've made the live vote for the U-turn.
The dynamic changes.
That's why they've done that.
Yeah. But I also think, still, you want to U-turn me? Cool. If you're going to U-turn a second team, all I got to do is beat one other team. Easy. I don't care who that other team is. We're going to do things better and faster than that team. So you turn me, it's still, I don't care. So when I go back for All-Stars, I don't have a social game. I'm not playing a social game. My social game is look at my back, and there's only going to be one backpack, and you're going to see it quite often because I don't have time to mingle with the people who are going to be behind me. Sorry, that's always going to be my mindset. And it's the same thing. Do you think Michael Jordan was like, oh, I don't want to play Larry Bird in the playoffs? He doesn't care. He didn't care. It's like, you have to beat me. I'm Michael Jordan. You have to beat me. I don't have to worry about you. You have to worry about me. And that's the mindset that you got to have to win the Amazing Race, in my opinion. That's how I run the race. Some people run the race differently.
What's one thing that, if you go back for All-Stars, what's the one craft that you're going to work on to complete your mission?
Communication with Diana, allowing her to feel more in control rather than, I think she has a tremendous amount of confidence now with going back in. She just wasn't as confident when we first started. So I took the lead and I felt like I had to keep taking the lead because I was the one that did all of the research, and she just trusted me to do that. And then when she tried to take the lead, it felt like, wait a minute, like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought we agreed upon this. And then we just, so I think that'll be the one thing. It's like, let's just communicate, make the best choices and move forward. And taxis, they can, like, we ran out of money 4 times because taxis charged us more than they charged other teams. And because taxis took us to wrong place, like that stuff, we have to negate that stuff. And I think a lot of that'll be like, give me your phone. Just like, I'm going to put the address in, and Baba, I'm going to look stuff up. I'm going to change the language from Chinese to American because I know how to do that. You know, I'm going to take more control. I don't want anybody else to be in charge of my race. I think for that. Oh, Will and James in chat. What's going on, Will and James? I know you guys want a totally different type of race than we do. Yes, Scott and Laurie's YouTube link is in chat now. So if you're watching it later, this is the time right now. If you click live chat, there's the YouTube link. You can click on it and go check out their recaps. I highly suggest you do that. All right, let's get to this. So U-turn. Like I said, the only 3 teams that should have got votes were Scott and Laurie, Jonathan and Anna, Jack and Carson. I would have done Jack and Carson because I knew Jonathan and Anna were going to get U-turned, and I would have felt like that we could beat Scott and Laurie because, you know, they are less physical than Jack and Carson were, but Scott and Laurie's are their biggest assets where they work so well together. Like, they trust each other. Their teamwork is impeccable. Their attention to detail was impeccable, which surprised me with Coral. And I think he's here now, but I think I know why that they sucked at the Coral when other teams got it on their first try. They should have been a team that got it on their first try, but we'll get to that. So Jonathan and Anna, stop whining. Oh, God, yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah. So the U-turn vote. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Cut me off.
Playing devil's advocate here, because you've said it before. Other players have said it before. If you're going to use a U-turn, make sure they're going out. So how does that play into having done that to 2 strong teams? Does it make sense to say, no, let's do it on somebody who I would do a middle team? Not a back of the pack team, but a middle team, because then you can be sure that the middle team is probably not going to be able to handle 2 W turns. We've had in the past 2 teams on the same episode kill both of the W turns. The fun team and Tyler and Corey both got W turned and both killed it. Nobody went home.
Yeah, but if there's going to be a double U-turn and you're going to use it because you can't burn it like a double U-turn board, that's when you want to make sure you're like, you turn a team that's going to go home and you burn the second one. That's always been the mindset when there's that double U-turn. Yeah. But when there's a live vote like this, you double U-turn the 2 strongest teams because you want one of those strongest teams to go home. And if they're good enough to both survive, then you're not going to beat them anyway. There's like, you know what I mean? You're not going to be good enough to beat them anyway. Which we'll talk about here. Jonathan, like, this was Jonathan's worst leg. If he was going to go out, how did he not go out on this leg? He gave up twice during this leg. Like, how are any teams going to beat them going forward unless he just gives up? Like, that is watching this, you have to be like, holy shit, dude. Like, how the hell did he still not get eliminated? Got U-turned, gave up twice, worst performances ever, and he's still in the race. Now it's like, how the hell are you going to get rid of him? I don't know. But we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, Scott and Laurie are very upset after the voting because they didn't expect it. Jonathan and Anna say, guy teams, we did that. All right. So in the cab rides, it's John told Anna to stop whining, stop crying. We don't cry. And then Scott and Laurie are like 100% confident that we're not going home today. That's the mindset that you have to have. Obviously, the foreshadowing sucked. That's the mindset that you have to have. And not only did he say we're not going home, he said we're going to win the leg, and that's the mindset. I love that mindset. So let's get to the detour. Coconuts or coral? Attention to detail task versus a brawn task, basically a straight brawn task. Normally, you go with your strengths, right? But just like any detour on The Amazing Race, you pick one, then you read the extra notes, and then you make the smart choice. You look through the extra notes, you say, okay, 60 coconuts? That's going to take a long time. 18 pieces of coral on a piece of metal? how long could that possibly take? A minute to put a piece of coral on? So 18 minutes, 20 minutes tops it should take you to do that task, like if you do it right. So for me, coral was the way to go.
I would have went grunting with the coconuts, but giving back to the community and doing the coral, something you can't just give up. You got to do that.
Yeah, that's a good reason if you like that. Mindset. Scott and Lori wanted to do the physical task first, which kind of makes sense unless you think about it from a pull-out standpoint. Okay, when do you tend to make more mistakes? When you're tired, right? Attention to detail is the times you don't want to make those mistakes. You're going to make more mistakes in attention to detail tasks when you're tired. So what they did was tire themselves out. Then they went to an attention to detail task, and then they screwed it up 6 times before they got it right because they were tired. Not only were they tired, but that adds that second layer of stress because, okay, we just have to finish this and then we can leave. We're done with this stuff. So it adds tired and stress and attention to detail do not go well together. So they should have done coral first. But go ahead.
I agree with you. I asked Scott specifically about that. Did he think that being tired led to the lack? Because he's known for his attention to detail.
They crush attention to detail tasks.
And so the fact that they had, 18 tries or something like that? It was some stupid number of tries.
Let me see.
I was like, was it because you became tired? And he swears it was not that. It was actually that the coral was drying out.
Okay.
And so the colors were fading. And so it became tougher and tougher to figure out which color was which.
They had a bucket of water, though. So they took all the coral out of the water and let it dry out.
Well,
was the problem?
Yeah, I mean, what the boys were saying yesterday on their Instagram was that when it was in the water, it was all brown. It wasn't until you pulled it out of the water that you were able to see the delicate colors that were in it. Obviously, the camera always shows the colors beautifully, right?
Got you. That makes sense.
So
now, I was wondering about that too, like just the visibility of the colors, because a lot of teams mentioned that you couldn't tell them apart clearly when you really started looking at some of them. And I wondered if you could I don't know, it would depend on the rules that were on that second page that you're talking about, but could you take your table and shift it over into the sunlight a little bit so you could get a little bit better view on things?
I would say that's a hard no.
Piece of coral out
moving the table. Otherwise, everybody would move the table right next to the example and just sit there like this. So, and if that's not your mindset, you're not thinking right. So they wanted to do the physical task first, it didn't work out too well for them, but they wound up making a ton of mistakes. And then even though Jack and Carson told them, when they were doing their physical coconuts, Jack and Carson said, here's the key to the task. It's the colors. Check out the colors. Here's the key to the task. So you think they're kings of attention to detail. Plus they had a little hint before they went. I thought they were going to go in there, knock that out, and just dust Jonathan and Anna. But the fatigue and all of that stuff got to them. Nick and Mike, 15 at a time. And they made... They can't be super fans. I'm sorry. You can't be super fans. You may have auditioned 7 times, but you have not watched every season of the race. You definitely didn't watch the races recap. They're the only team that did the damn task with their backpacks on. They had their backpacks on and took the coconuts on the bike all the way. Every other team that did it didn't have their backpacks on. When you're doing a detour, you don't have to have your backpacks on. You could put them... There's always safe places where there's cameramen or producers or something like that. Drop your backpacks and then do the task. The only thing you never put down is your passports. You just always have those on, and that's why you wear a fanny pack that never goes down unless they force you to take it off.
And they went to the furthest bin for the coconuts.
So there you go. I had that next too. I had that next in my notes. They even went to the furthest one, making their task the longest trip as possible. And they were the super strong ones, and they still didn't take 30 at a time, which super fans, Alyssa and Josiah, who watch the races recap, who know the races recap, who are true super fans, they took 30, they dropped their backpacks, made 2 trips, and dusted everybody. But even doing it perfectly, right? That's as good as you could do it. You can't do it in 1 trip. 2 trips is the least you could do it. They still got out third, which proves the point that coral was a better choice if you're going to pick 1 or 2, because the first 2 teams that got it and did it right Jack and Carson, Mark and Brett got it on their first try. Boom, boom, in, out. And the team that did it the best you could possibly do it on coconuts still got out of their third. So that proves the point that coral was the faster one to do if you have that skill.
And Alyssa and Josiah, they got the bike closest to the truck, and they weren't condensed with two bikes on the side. They had room to maneuver around the coconuts on the bike.
Yeah, they're super smart. Like they are the closest thing to us on this race. They understand the mindset of the race. Tough Philly girl, he just doesn't have the New York attitude. He's a little. He's just as happy, like just as joyous as I was. He just doesn't have the attitude that I had on top of it. He's basically what fans wanted me to be is what he is. I just have a lot more mental issues than he does, a lot more childhood trauma than he does. So it was harder for me to get over shit. And like my therapist watched my season and like diagnosed me with two different, but we'll get into that. But that's why my highs were extremely high. My lows were extremely lows. Like, you can kind of guess the type of mental things that I have. So listen, Josiah, 30 at a time, true super fans. Jonathan and Anna just tied random pieces on, which obviously they're not super fans. They don't watch the Racers recap. That's just silly. Even Jonathan and Carson, Jack and Carson were like, they just tied random ones on random places and thought that was going to be right. Like, what are you doing? You're not thinking, you're just doing. So they took them 3 tries to figure it out, and then they got it on their 6th try. We learned that Anna's scared of the ocean, and then she starts hanging on Jonathan's neck, and then they just give up, and they leave their coral out there, and the waves are just crashing it, and then like some locals go and get it, which I was like, what? Like, I would have been pissed off if I was Scott and Lori watching it back. Like, wait, why are the locals helping them go get their coral? They left their coral in the ocean. If they don't go back and get it, then they should have to go make it again. So I'd have been a little pissed off if I was Scott and Lori watching that back. Arnold said that Lori figured out to pick the smaller coconuts. That's pretty smart if there's really a big size difference. I didn't notice that much of a size difference, but if there was, that's really smart. As well. Let's see. Scott and Lori did it right. They did it 30 at a time. They are smart. They're prepared. They did that right. That's the right way to do it. Han and Holden, 18. They picked up 18. They both Melinda and Erica, they both took at least 4 trips. Pops and Jeff took 3 trips. They did 20 at a time. You would think Pops and Jeff would try to use those big ass muscles, like they are yoked to try to do it in 2 trips, but they took 3 trips. And if you check out Mark Gerald's notes, let's see, how much is that? The trips, maximum distance, here you go. Minimum.
So for 2, it was 1.35 miles was what I was looking at for that. So, and if you did 4, which seemed to be the maximum that anybody did, doing like 15 at a time or thereabouts, then you did 2.55 miles.
So you did 1.2 miles extra if you didn't do things right, which takes time. That's like, even if you're running, that's 14 minutes for most people. Like, so never mind if you're just walking and you couldn't ride the bikes. It wasn't allowed for people asking, why didn't they ride the bikes? One, you couldn't balance them with the damn coconuts. And on the way back, they just wouldn't allow it, I guess, because of the way it was set up. All right,
those bikes did not look safe to ride.
No, they were just a way to carry that many coconuts. Rather than trying to use like a wheelbarrow or something like that. Let's see. Scott,
the way Pops took those coconuts off the vine. What a bad day to be a coconut. My golly.
Yep.
Pops was impressive in this
Flinging
leg.
them on.
He was impressive on this leg. Let's see. Jack and Carson, Brett and Mark got in their first try. Listen, Josiah, nail it as fast as you possibly could, coming out third. Eric and Melinda help Jonathan and Anna with the bikes. Why? Why are Erica and Melinda helping Jonathan and Anna? I don't understand that. I don't understand why you're helping the strongest team of the season. Like, that's just dumb, especially when you're the weakest team left. Like, why are you helping the strongest team? I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, they did vote for Scott and Lori, right? So maybe they have some kind of preference for. I don't know.
Still, okay. You
Did they get along with them better? I don't know.
I guess, but don't help the strongest team, man. You want him to crumble so you can have a better chance. Then you see Jonathan, after he's done, sits there in the shade drinking water rather than actually walking while he's drinking, and makes some comments that people hate. I'll go when I'm ready. And he's sitting there pouting, which, people don't like. And I try to give him the benefit of the doubt because I understand editing, and they didn't. He said he's always stated he has a tough time in the heat, and this is the hottest leg. And I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt as much as I can, but the editing made this. I mean, in his words, just like, Anna is the patience of a saint. If that was Diana, and she'd have came over and hit me with a coconut. Like, I don't understand. Like, she has the patience of a saint with him. And she tried to encourage him the whole time, and then he's like, just be quiet, I have a headache. Like, oh my God, like, oh, you're not doing yourself any favors if you're trying to say that this is not who you're like. Like, he got mad at me when I said he has douchey vibes on the first leg. Like, as soon as I first saw him, I was like, he's got douchey vibes, and then he got mad at me and like wrote me something. And I understand. I was like, I apologize. Maybe it is editing, but maybe it is what I thought it was. All right, so let's get to Roadblock.
The other teams helping each other is killing me. I get making friends on the race, but when it's go time and it's game time, I ain't helping nobody.
Erica and Melinda, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna help somebody, the only time to really help somebody is when you're in the middle of the pack and you notice teams behind you, and you're not gonna win the leg, but you're also not gonna lose the leg, so you're just gonna help each other get through it. That's fine. I don't know. I was never in that situation, so I can't speak on that.
Or if you're, Jack and Carson, and you just throw out a quick hint as you're running to the next task. You've already killed it.
Yeah,
and they've got two. Yeah, and so
I don't mind Jack and Carson helping Scott and Lori because they want to get Jonathan and Anna out, right? So if you want to get Jonathan and Anna out, then you want to help Scott and Lori. So that makes sense,
right?
Like, yeah, that I can understand that. Jack and Carson's help. They did it while running. They didn't stop and slow down their race. They were just like, focus on the colors. It's the colors. Like they did the right thing. Help the team that you want to stay, so you can get the other team out. So I understand that help. That makes sense. Let's get to the roadblock here. Jack's mistake was looking for the board color rather than looking for the sticker, which cost them first place. That's the reason they didn't get first place. They were in first place. They got out there first. Granted, Mark's an incredible swimmer and a surfer, but still, he was over there looking for the board color. Took him a while to even figure out to look for the sticker, so he probably passed the guy with the sticker while he was looking for the board color. Future racers, needle in a haystack challenges, mindset for needle in a haystack challenges. Have a pattern in your head. Have a pattern in your head. Me, I would have started on the outside, did a circle around them, right? Check out all the boards on the outside, all the boards on the outside. Then go, if I have to do a second one, go right through the middle and check out all the other boards. The most you should possibly do is one circle and then one way through, and then you could see all of the boards. That is, you have to have a mindset for needle in a haystack. If you saw my needle in a haystack challenge, which was the phones, we had a pattern, taking it out of one basket, clearing one basket out and putting them in another basket, putting it in another basket, putting it in another basket, so we never have to deal with the same thing again. Some of the teams were going around looking at the same boards 2 and 3 times, which is just like needle in a haystack challenges. You have to have a mindset going in. So if you're taking notes, take those notes for needle in a haystack. Brett was smooth as butter, though, going through the water, just smooth. Those jack muscles, no problem. Han is a surfer. She was super impressive, although it took her 5 minutes to figure out the point of of looking for the stickers. But catching the wave back was got to be one of the most epic moments in the history of the race. Like, I'm just gonna jump up and surf back. Like, dude, that is such a player move. Like, oh.
It's like one of those like stop to smell the roses moments where you're just like, I'm not slowing my race down at all here. I'm just
speeding
like
it
enjoying where I am.
Saving energy and speeding it up. Like, that's the fastest way to get back to shore, is to catch the wave in. You're not swimming faster than the wave, so damn. Go ahead. Like, if they were in the lead, that could have been the difference between first and second place, catching that wave.
It's like trying to go against the soul surfers on that one. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Doing the surfing challenges against the surfing challenge. Good job there, Bike Sisters. All right, Melinda was exhausted, but with 2 teams being U-turned and them being 3-1 roadblocks, this is the one Melinda should have done this roadblock. I don't care how tired you are. You have 2 teams that you know are way behind because they got to do both sides of the detour, and you're right now currently in 4th place. Like, this is when you let the weaker person do the roadblock. This is the reason they're going to be going home next week, probably, because she's going to have to do the roadblock, and it's not going to be something she's strong at, and they're going to go home. So, like, they're the only unbalanced ones left. Right now, Erica's daughter has 4 roadblocks. Mama got 1. That's the reason that they're not, well, one of the main reasons they're not going to win the Amazing Race. Because Mama's got no chance when they force her to do a roadblock that she really can't do, or she is really not up her alley, and they don't have that cushion of a lead. So they 100%, Mama should have done this. I don't care how fast daughter did it. I don't care how fast Erica went out there, and the first board she looked at was the right board. They went right back. I don't care. So what? You came in 4th. That doesn't change anything for your race. But what changes stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
evening up your roadblocks.
If you're not first, just don't be last.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and right now you've got 2 teams that are doing twice as much behind you. Come on.
Yeah.
Now's the time to
they're not
believe in Mom.
They have. I don't think at any time during casting, during the race, they thought they could win the race. They just wanted to be on the race, which,
yeah,
I hate. I hate that. I can't stand. I can't stand when teams like that get on the race. They're great people. They're having a great time. They're doing way better than I expect them to do. But I just hate the mindset of like, they know they can't win the race. They don't have any. They can't win the race. So why? I don't think production.
I don't think production is ever going to cast an entire cast of people who all think they can win the race legitimately. Come on.
They have to.
I mean, of these 14 teams,
you're setting up weaker teams. Whatever. I don't know. That's just my mindset. Again, obviously, most people don't agree with me in most things in life. I get it. Like, I understand. I just think differently. My brain is fucked. All right. Too much childhood trauma. All right. Jonathan takes a bunch of breaks, goes to sleep on the surfing board a couple times. Scott is busting his ass, doing the best he can. Obviously, he is totally worn out. He is just struggling, swimming, and makes a big mistake by getting off the surfboard, which makes you use a lot more energy, which gives you a worse view of the other surfboards. I don't understand why he had the board next to him. Scott, if you can help, let me know why you got off the surfboard and how that you thought that was any sort of a good idea, because it makes you use more energy and gives you less opportunity to see the stickers. Molly is in chat. Oh, yeah. We will see you on season 40, Molly. We know you guys are coming back. And we're praying. I don't know anything about season 40. We're just praying it's a returnee season. And people still care about us 10 years later. We might be too old to be back on the race.
No, you'll be calling it Christy.
I'll be 52. If they call me back for season 40. 52, and nobody's going to treat me like the old man. No, nobody's going to act like I'm the old guy. But anyway, so Scott is struggling. Jonathan takes breaks. I can't understand, like, how Jonathan still managed to beat Scott on this leg. Like, it looked like Scott was giving it all he got, and Jonathan was just gave up. And when he was on the board going back in, the waves were taking him in more than anything. He was just laying there, and the waves were pushing him in. And somehow he still got it. Then there was a 0.4 mile run to fill. And what does Jonathan do? Stops to put on his shoes? What? Like, it's 0.4 miles, bro. Suck it up, just like the track stars did on our season. They were running through the streets of Argentina with their shoes off, and you're on a beach, and you're like, I'm going to put my shoes on. You're made to walk. These beaches are made to walk without shoes. And he still stopped, and I was hoping that's when Scott and Lori would be like, do right past them, and I would have loved to see that, but unfortunately, it did not work out. And then Jonathan says another thing. He says, individually, he can outcompete anyone on the race, which is not even close to being true. Without your wife, you would have already been gone because you gave up on yourself. She's trying to encourage you, and then you like insult her. And
I mean, I think also bear in mind he was already feeling like crap. He was overheating because he's got this heat issue. But he also knows when they get to the surfboards, Anna can't do it because she's afraid of the water.
But you're on the
So
surfboard.
I know, I get it. You and I be fine.
Okay, I understand, but he's jacked too. He's
and he's got a splitting migraine going on,
he's shredded.
and I get it.
So is it fear or is it lack of energy? So which one do you go with? I think Anna was more able to overcome her fear than Jonathan is to overcome his lack of energy.
Yeah, she wasn't going to go out into deep water. She barely made it out to the reef to drop off the coral, and that wasn't deep water.
6 minutes.
Yeah, if she's got a choice, I don't think she's going out there.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so
I would have loved to see her
Jonathan
overcome it though. Okay, so Scott and Lori said they lost by 6 minutes. I thought it was closer than that, to be honest. But that's what the Amazing Race editing looks like. But 6 minutes, man, that 6 minutes was probably coral. If you would have nailed it on your first or second try on coral, would that have made up your 6 minutes? I don't know. I'm thinking yes. So coral is the reason that you lost the race. Is that stupid attention to details? As you guys were so good attention to detail. Why did you fuck up this leg? The whole world of watching this race was like, come on, Scott and Lori. Even if they weren't big fans of Scott and Lori, they were like, come on, just beat Jonathan and Anna. Oh.
And not to be that guy, not to bring you down, but the longer the coral stays out of the water, the less likely it is going to be alive by the time it hits the water again.
that makes sense. I was always told when scuba diving to never touch the coral. We weren't even allowed to touch the coral when it was in the water. That's why I was like, it's weird that they're handling the coral. Yeah. Oh, Scott and Lori got sidelined after hitting a bird with their taxi? What? So that he said for 6 minutes they got pulled. Oh, and they lost by 6. Oh no, they didn't give you a time. So sometimes, because if there's like production errors or something, like, a cameraman's got to drop a deuce, whatever, like you got to stop your race, and they'll start the clock, and then they'll give you that time back at the end of the race. They'll give you that 6 minutes back. Like if he goes and takes a deuce for 6 minutes, he drops a deuce. He's like, all right, and you got 6 minutes. So they'll give you the time. That's happened before. That's why I say it. So, or if they got to change a battery and they don't have enough batteries, or something happens, like a cameraman gets hurt, things like that. Like they'll make your team stop racing, but they'll give you that time back at the end. So this was, I guess, a taxi thing. So they can't give you time back because of something your taxi does. Which sucks. No time credit for taxi. That's terrible, man. I'm so sorry, man. Like that would drive me up a wall. And if you were like the team that shall not be named that beat Jen and Christy, if you were like them bitching and complaining all season when they should have been eliminated 3 or 4 times because they crashed cars. Yes, crashed cars, like banging cars, like damaging 3 separate cars. They didn't get any penalties for that when in other seasons teams did. Yeah, but anyway, I can't stand that team beat Jen and Christy. Damaged the driver's side mirror. Oh no, Scott, that is dreadful, man. I feel so sorry for you. So Jonathan says individually he can outcompete anyone on the race. That's just not true. I don't think that's true at all. He's a strong competitor. I'll give you that. I'm sure he'd probably be top 3 in most challenges, but there are tons of challenges that I could see Mark and or Brett beating him physically. I see Jack and Carson beating him mentally. I see Alyssa and Josiah beating them. Like I could see a couple teams beating them, like multiple times. And same thing, like with me, there were tasks, like if I had to do tasks that Diana did, I would not have done as well as she did. Like you have to have a balanced team and you have to be able to trust your partner, like 100%. And if you watch The Amazing Race, how many times I give Diana credit for most of the things, people never see that. They only see me bragging, but watch every single leg, especially the first leg we won in Argentina. I'm saying, he's like, why did you win? Because she was a beast. This girl, I even tried to say it in Spanish. I was like, she's a beast. Like she beasted the challenge and she's bailaring on the wall. Like I was just, Spanglish throwing stuff in. You got to give your team credit. You gotta trust in your partner. And there was a couple times when I was like, shit, I should have done this task because I'm better at stuff like this. But I did that. That's not me not believing in her. That's me saying like, I'm the super fan. I should have known this. Like more insulting myself rather than taking away from my partner. But again, when she did the water challenge, I used to be a lifeguard. It was like, damn it, I should have done the water challenge. Makes it seem like I'm an asshole, but she still crushed it, beat Krista, and we wind up doing it. Like that's not me taking it away from her. That's just me saying, damn it, I was a lifeguard. I'd probably be better at swimming. I can hold my breath for 2 minutes. I could dive underwater and just one time find the damn thing. Things like that. But Jonathan is a little different. Like the way that he's talking about stuff is like, oh, hold the bike. Why can't you hold the bike? Well, she didn't drop the bike, bro. You dropped the bike. You let it go, and all the weight came where? Your side. It didn't fall her way. That means you dropped the bike, and it fell your way because you dropped the bike, but he blames her. Like, that's the stuff that's like, come on, bro. Like, Anna is the reason that your team is doing well. She's the one holding it together. She faced her biggest fear and didn't lose her shit. Like, but anyway. All right, so we got Brett and Mark, who I thought were holding out all season because they seem to be incredible. They just happen to be getting, I guess, terrible luck with taxis, and I think they are going to be a big threat going forward. Jack and Carson, Alyssa and Josiah, Pops and Jeff, Han and Holden, Melinda and Erica, Nick and Mike. Next week, we got Dubai riding camels for some sort of route info task, a skydiving roadblock, surfing on motorized surfboards, and some sort of scuba diving challenge. Pops and Jeff, where Jeff puts his arm in the door and then pulls it out. I'm sorry, but if it's just like New York, you keep your arm in that door and it hits it, boom, and then the doors open again. Don't pull your arm out, bro. Make those doors hit your arm, and then those things open up again and you go in. But no, he pulled his arm out, and it looks like they missed the train because of it. And if they go home because of that, they deserve it. Plus we got some sort of driving fast forward, so we got to fast forward on the next leg, so we'll see how that works out, and it's got something to do with driving as they show in some sort of car. So let's go. What do we got? What did I miss? What do you guys want to throw in about this episode, next episode, this season? Talk to me, super fans.
I think it's pretty fascinating seeing every team and all the age differences. Look at how each person wears their fanny pack. Everyone has a different style. Pretty cool.
That's funny. The fanny pack style, over the shoulder, around the hip, over the back, in the back, towards the front. I like it. I mean,
you're all gonna see it now.
A season 15 switchback. What are we talking about? Talk to me, Cal. If that's how you say your name, Cal. What did I miss? Season 15 switchback. Oh, What task? What's the switchback task? I don't know. Mark and Brett is the team that everyone should be concerned about the most. I think it's Jack and Carson right now. Jonathan and Anna.
Carson, yeah.
Jonathan and Anna seem like the most likely to blow up and take themselves out of the race. When there's less teams, there's less margin of error. So if they do something like this there's 9 teams left. So this is the time, if you're going to make those blow-ups, you got a much bigger cushion. But as this starts getting less and less teams, those mistakes start to really stand out. And I think that's what eventually get Jonathan and Anna, like him blowing up at the wrong time when there's not enough teams left, and then they can go. I don't see Jack and Carson making any big mistakes at all. They trust and love each other. Like they have like this bond between them as friends, like best friends. Like they're never going to argue with each other. I don't see that. I don't see Alyssa and Josiah ever getting mad at each other. They have great communication. Brett, like these couples, Brett and Mark, they have the utmost respect for each other. I don't see them ever getting mad at each other, blowing up. That's not going to happen. Pops and Jeff, tremendous amount of respect for each other. Never going to blow up on each other. Han and Holden have some possibilities of blowing up on each other. They even said that they get crazy sometimes, but not in a disrespectful way. But I could see them popping off a little bit. Melinda and Erica. Erica loves her mom so much. She gives her so much grace. I don't see them ever having a problem. So Nick and Mike, there seems like they trust each other. They love each other so much that they don't even get into those dramas. Like me and my brothers, we'd be fighting like bulldogs on the race. We compete at everything. Jonathan and Anna are like the only team left that really has that explosive problem that could be a problem. That dynamic that could be a problem. Like all it is Anna got to lose her shit once. If she loses her shit, the team's done because he's gonna lose it. You know he's gonna lose it at some point going forward. And if she just like gets fed up with that, it's done. Like they're done.
Can we talk about CBS doing the best head fake of the season though so far?
Oh, Maserati.
Because
but go ahead.
They gave Anna her lost pregnancy backstory.
Yeah,
really made us all think, oh crap.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving them their big story. It must be them this time. CBS editors, well played.
Yes,
you set us up.
They did that. Usually, like when you get to the heart of people's stories, is usually like their swan song. But they also gave the heart of Scott and Laurie's story. Like they dropped 100 pounds, 70 pounds. We didn't know Scott was a biggin. We didn't know he was a biggin. Come on, and now he's like slim, looking good, in shape, like crushing all these tasks. Like, so they did do a little head fake though, and pulled at the heartstrings. And it's like, oh man.
But the sweetest part of the episode, I firmly believe, was Laurie going up and giving Anna a hug.
Really?
That was totally adorable. What was she going to do? Can't get Scott out of the water any faster.
I don't think it was real,
but
though. I think Laurie was still like, screw y'all.
Slowing her down a little bit. In a way, she's slowing her down a little bit by giving her a hug.
Okay. Yeah, I
got a little extra time to get to shore. I don't think she was doing it in that regard. I think she was just being. It was definitely a shit. You guys are ahead of us. Yeah, good luck. And she's seen what Anna's had to put up with all day.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
and somebody did mention, Mike B said Dubai heat might mess with Jonathan again. That is the dry heat, desert heat, but it is heat. That is going to be hot as balls in Dubai. But that's the type of country that they can create their cloud in the sky if they wanted to, because they got the money.
Won't. I guarantee he won't be the one walking through the desert leading the camel with his flannels on.
Right, but he'd be jumping into the water. There's two separate water tasks, which look like probably a detour, where it's going to be surf or scuba or something like that. It looks kind of like that.
Yeah.
But,
any teams can speak multiple languages?
Oh, I don't think anybody's going to speak Arabic. Or
I don't know that anybody has Arabic.
Yeah, I mean, you heard a couple people, saying like hello and goodbye.
Carson did well in Japan.
Yeah. So, but the heat might get to Jonathan again, and being in the back of the pack. So, like, they haven't had to run from the back of the pack, and that changes the mindset. That really screwed with Tanner and Josh when they fell back, not being in the lead. That really screwed with them. Like a strong team, they were strong in the start. Then when they fell back, it was just like they changed. It was a totally different mindset, and that could be what happens to Jonathan and Anna. But also, you got to give them props. Like, this is the worst that Jonathan had ever done. And gave up a couple times, and got U-turned and still survived. So if you look at it that way, it's like, how the hell are you going to get him out? How are you going to get rid of this team if everything that could have possibly went wrong for them, right? They didn't beast any challenge. They sucked at the both sides of the detour, sucked at the roadblock, got U-turned, and they still didn't get eliminated. So it's like the only team that can eliminate them is going to be them. I don't see teams being able to beat them consistently unless he eliminates himself.
They clearly were smart to train that bird to hit the cab behind them.
Well, I think he threw it from his cab, and it was a dead bird, and he just threw it out of his cab and it hit the cab behind him. That sucks that they don't show that stuff. But again, if you don't understand why they don't show stuff, they get 20 to 40 hours of footage for every episode. So they got to narrow that down to 42 minutes or an hour and 2 minutes. So a lot gets cut out. A lot of great things that you think would have happened. And it sucks that they don't do the bonus footage on YouTube. I mean, if you guys would damn support the YouTube channel more, watch the damn videos, they'd like the Big Brother people, they'd be still doing it. But, that's not what the fans of The Amazing Race are. They're not those people. And that's why you don't see us on shows like The Traders and things like that, because we don't get huge social media followings. Like, we'll get 1,000 or 2,000 fans. Like, even the biggest Amazing Racers got like 3,000 to 3,000 followers. And like the worst Big Brother players get 10,000 followers. Some of them get 100,000 followers on various platforms just by being on the show. And Survivor is usually around 40 to 60,000 followers by being on Survivor. So Amazing Race gets, 5 to 10 times less social media followers by being on the Amazing Race, because most people don't even know the people's names. They just recognize them as their job or their team color. You hardly remember, like the average fan hardly remembers name. I'm a super fan and I forget people's names, so never mind the average fan.
That's why I like a couple of the podcasters have been very good about, like at the beginning of the season, going, here's their Insta, here's their YouTube, so that you can go follow them early. Just really track down the people, so you can really start following them.
Yes, and like I said, make sure you go and support all of the current racers who are doing recaps. Will and James are still doing, well, it's more James. Will doesn't participate as much.
James and Kayla.
Kayla, make sure you check them out. They are still doing it consistently, and he is a super fan who sees the race a little differently than I do, so he sees things from a different angle. We see a lot of things the same, but he runs the race with a different mentality, so you can kind of see things from that perspective, where it's hard for me to see things from that perspective because that's not how I race. So that's, one of the things that makes this show different is I just see things from a winner's mentality. All I see is, like, obviously he won, I didn't, so I can't say that. But like from a all I see is winning mentality. I don't see any other aspect of the game. This is how you're going to win the race. These are the little things that you need to win the race, and I hope that people who win the race from this day forward are people who watch the Racers Recap. And 2 of the last 3 winners have been diehard Racers Recap fans who studied the Racers Recap, took notes from the Racers Recap, and used those notes to get little edges to win the Amazing Race. And if Alyssa and Josiah win this season, it'll be 3 out of 4, because they are the ones that I know 100% were super fans of the Racers Recap. They even threw out the "Hey there, what do you say there" on the race a couple times to see if anybody snapped their heads to see who the super fans are. And the reason that they have 2 backpacks instead of 1 is because they didn't want to be seen as super fans. They wanted to seem like they didn't know as much of the race. So that like he reached out to me. He said, I'm like, if you can't tell me you're a Racers Recap fan, have 2 bags. And then he was like, this is why we have 2 bags, because we didn't want people to know we were super fans. Which
so you've brought it up before. So I mean, this was leg 5. Usually it's between legs 4 and 6 that teams are hitting the exhaustion point.
Yeah.
And they start making stupid mistakes because of exhaustion. Who do you see as the biggest concern, basically for leg 6, for an exhaustion screw up?
Well, Jonathan and Anna. It's Jonathan. But I mean, the next 2 that should be gone is Melinda and Erica, and then Nick and Mike probably. Pops and Jeff are going to muscle their way through it. They have just Nick and Mike haven't shown me anything. Like, I love them. They're happy, but come on. Let's see what 6th, 10th, 8th, 7th is what they finished. Pops and Jeff 4th, 6th, 7th, 9th, 4th. They've gotten up there. I mean, even Erica and Melinda are 6th. Oh shit, I'm blind. 6th, 8th, 4th, and 6th. Like, they've never finished anywhere near what Mike is. 6th, 10th, 8th, and 7th. Like, they haven't shown any sign of being good at anything. So it's hard to give them props to say like they're gonna do well. So like their time is coming. They're gonna be the next 2 or 3 gone for sure. Melinda and Erica are gonna.
Can you imagine them doing the watermelon? They couldn't do 30 coconuts. Can you imagine them doing the watermelon?
Yeah, they couldn't stack. They were the only team that really couldn't stack the coconuts. Everybody else just had no problem stacking the coconuts. They couldn't stack the coconuts. It just seems like they don't have any edge. Like, they're decent at everything. They're just not great at anything. So eventually they're going to fall behind. I could see Brett and Mark winning, Jack and Carson winning, Alyssa and Josiah winning, and Jonathan and Anna winning. So those are the final 4 for sure. I can't see any of the other teams being in the final 4, to be honest.
Did you see that article where Val Kilmer and Will wanted to run the race?
Yes, That would have been so
Yes.
cool. Like, but again, their agents talked them out of it. Oh, it's not good. Just shut up, agents. Let this people get, like, that would have been such a boost for the Amazing Race. I mean, they would have been at an advantage and a disadvantage because they get noticed everywhere, so people would want to talk to them or help them, slow them down. So that helped, that helped two separate Big Brother teams win the race by having Big Brother fans help them along the way. Nobody more than the team that shall not be named, who Big Brother fans actively sabotaged the other teams. At least when Derek and Claire won, Big Brother fans didn't sabotage the other teams, but they did help Derek and Claire. I love Derek and Claire though. They ran the race. They ran a great race, and they love the race. They're fans of the race. The other team doesn't give a shit. They just wanted to win because they couldn't win their show, so they wanted to come on this show and win. But that's always my problem with Big Brother, because it's the fan base and them getting like advantages because of their fans, which sucks. All right, what else you got? Anybody want to throw anything else out there? Anybody in the chat want to throw anything that I missed here? Let's go. I'm gonna scroll while you guys chat. Let's see. Killer fatigue incoming. Okay, sorry. All right, I guess not. Well, I appreciate you all, Mark, Ben, and of course, what's your name again? I don't know. You don't really show up to chat that much. It's hard to remember.
Right? I'm never in here.
Never in here. It's like hardly ever make any kind of donations in the chat. No, I appreciate you each and every week. You're such a big supporter, and it means the world to me. And I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you like the season of the Superfan. When all my co-hosts leave me, my super fans are still here to support, and that really does mean the world, because honestly, if there wasn't you guys still supporting me, this season might not have happened. I might have just said, like, screw it. People really don't care. The hosts don't want to be here. The teams don't want to come on the show. Like, fuck it. Why am I doing it? But I'm doing it because I love to talk about the Amazing Race, and you guys have been here to support in chat, talking about it. You guys listening on the podcast later, that really means the world to me. And I know I try to express how much it means every time I give these goodbyes, but it's one of the few things in my world right now that's going well, or not even going well, but it's one of the few things in my world that I enjoy doing right now. I'm going through a lot of personal stuff, and it's been really hard. So thank you guys for supporting the show and being here each and every week. I love you guys. See you next week with some insider scoop. I got some stuff for you next week, so stick around. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Thanks for having us, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate y'all. Later.